what's going on in the world of Hunted the Demon's Forge?
Hunted is the simple concept of us trying to bring together three of our favorite things: co-op games, fantasy games, and fast-paced cover action games.
How did you encourage players to work together? What game elements are designed specifically to encourage teamwork?
Well, that's a good question. Our philosophy of building a co-op game is about weaving it into every fabric of the game, so all the special skills, the abilities, and the characters themselves. The two main characters are Caddick and Allura. Caddick is the melee specialist. He's going to unlock all kinds of special skills and abilities on his melee. But when it comes to his ranged weapon, he's pretty weak. He's got a crossbow, shoots kind of slow, doesn't do as much damage. Allura is the bow specialist. Throughout the game, she's going to unlock all kinds of special skills and abilities on her bow, exploding arrows, ice arrows. She also has a sword and shield for emergencies, but it's kind of her weaker weapon. So the players, because they have different strengths and weaknesses, you really have to work together. Every enemy in the game has its own strength and weakness as well. And it's about you as a team trying to figure out what's the best combination of our skills and our spells and our strengths and our weaknesses to take on the various groups of enemies.
And when did you decide players should be able to switch between the characters on the fly, or at least when you encounter these runes?
That was kind of an innovative thing. It came about when we realized how different the play experience was playing as one versus the other. You know, when you're playing around as Caddick, the game feels very, very different.
Definitely.
And it just occurred to us, you know, man, people probably are going to want both. So we littered the world with these swap obelisks that you can walk up to and switch who you're playing as, and it creates a huge amount of replay value. Because you can play the game from beginning to end as Caddick, or play with Allura, or even if you switch at every single checkpoint, all you have to do is go back and start with the opposite guy that you started with, and you're going to get a really, really unique experience. Even those arenas that you've seen before and the monsters you've seen before, when you switch characters, how you defeat them becomes very different.
Excellent. So what sort of environments are players going to venture through in Hunted, and what sort of enemies will populate those environments?
Well, we wanted the environments to be varied. You know, it was our goal to try to make a very dark fantasy game. So you start off in towns. Of course, we refer to it as kind of inspired by the old school dungeon crawl. So you can't have a dungeon crawl without some good dungeons. So there's lots of beneath the ground dungeon areas, cavern areas, but also very bright forest areas, wilderness areas as well. Ruins. There's a town you encounter that's on fire and burning to the ground, and of course back to dungeons again.
So you mentioned inspiration. What previous works did you look to for inspiration for Hunted?
Well, I think from a game design point of view, I think our inspiration dates all the way back to the origins of the industry. You know, when I think about the games that I played in the early '80s that made me want to make games professionally, Wizardry and The Bard's Tale, and ultimately I ended up working for Brian Fargo, who's the man who made The Bard's Tale, and he's been talking about wanting to make this game for 20 years, and we've always wanted to do a very action-heavy fantasy game. And yeah, there's been lots of great fantasy games, lots of great RPG fantasy games, but the action category has definitely been lacking. So trying to take our love of those old school dungeon crawl fantasy games of yesteryear and combine it with a very modern, fast-paced, action-heavy product.
So any good dungeon crawler has loads of loot and upgrading. Can you tell me a little bit about those systems in Hunted?
Definitely. That's you can't be a dungeon crawler without all that stuff. And you know, searching through the dungeon to find the next enchanted weapon or magic sword is it's really the driving motivation for this thing. So we wanted to create a ton of weapons. You start off, and like any good game, you know, your character's very weak and he's got weak weapons. You're finding swords. Caddick can carry up to 2 swords because that's his primary weapon, but he can even upgrade his off weapon. Allura finds bows, there's armor, and then the main currency for the game, for the spell system and the skill system, is these magic crystals. So you find the crystals throughout the game and you trade them into Seraphine, who's sort of the character who's leading you on this journey, and she's the one that unlocks the various special skills that you get.
Awesome. So talking about the technology of Hunted now, you guys are using the Unreal Engine. Why do you opt to use that, and what's it bring to the table?
You know, the best thing for me about the Unreal Engine 3, it's a very, very powerful engine, but what really makes it work for us is how fast we can prototype stuff. You know, it's almost faster for us just to program something and put it in than it is even to write the design document, so it allows us to iterate. And we get to spend all of our time and energy on the game design and not the technology. So we have a limited amount of manpower and a limited amount of time to put into the game, and if I can put all of that energy into the game without having to worry about the tech, it allows us to just have a deeper product and a richer product, and you know, something that's more polished as well.
Yeah. And I played the build on 360 here. How is the PS3 version looking? Are there any disparities between the two versions? Or?
I don't think you'll be able to tell them apart. One of the things that the Unreal Engine 3 does really well is very cross-platform, and whether it's running on the PC or the Xbox 360 or the PS3, and it looks fantastic.
Excellent. Are you guys planning on releasing a demo for Hunted at some point? And when might we expect to see that?
I don't know if any plans have been announced for a demo yet. I know we've been releasing trailer videos about one a month, and there's a couple more of those coming down the pipeline that let you see more of what it's going to be.
Awesome. And I know it's obviously early, the game's coming out in June, but are you thinking about extending the game with downloadable content?
We'd be very interested in doing so. We've been talking to Bethesda about it right now, and we have plans to do something, but we're not saying what.
Excellent. So, what's one of the coolest things you've ever seen in a Hunted play session?
You know, there's an element of the game called executions. When you hit an enemy, sometimes they go down but not out. And you get an opportunity to hit the B prompt and do a special execution roll. Well, we have not only melee executions for Caddick to do, but we have ranged executions for Allura. And one time I was playing as Allura, and I hit a guy and he went down but not out on the other side of the arena, and I got the chance to B prompt for an execution, and the bow execution that it chose was the one where the camera basically follows the arrow all the way across the arena to stick into the Wargar's eye socket and explode his head. And as the arrow was flying across the arena, I saw Caddick in the middle of the arena just randomly obliterating guys, and it looks like the arrow is going through this giant massive flying in the air. Arrow sticks in the guy and kills him. It's very cool, very cinematic.
Sounds pretty exciting. So any last comments before we wrap up?
No, just please come buy our game.
And game's coming out on PS3, 360.
Yep, on June 1st, 2011, PS3, Xbox 360, and PC.
Brilliant, thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot.
Is that what I think it was?
If you're thinking giant eye, then yes.
Do you think it's Saurus?
It was a giant eye.